Well, 2021 has been a very difficult year for everybody. The second year when COVID has been the real issue affecting everybody in their everyday lives. It's been tough times for many businesses, particularly in the hospitality trade. Although, thankfully, this year, when some of the restrictions were lifted, we actually saw a little bit of a boom in the summer when people who'd normally been in Benidorm or Spain decided to come back to their roots actually and enjoy the benefits of the coast. But as we go into the new year, with everybody who wants to be jabbed and in most cases boosted, I think we're in a completely different situation to the one we were in 12 months ago when we were looking at more lockdowns and more problems. And it does appear that the new Omicron variant is less severe, it's causing less severe illness, and also that the booster vaccination is really starting to bear fruit. So yes, there will be some choppy waters ahead, but I'm very confident that this year we'll be able to put the COVID pandemic behind us and treat this like many other seasonal diseases that we have. Of course, the other problem we will face is economically paying for what has been a very expensive operation for the Chancellor. Many businesses have told me how pleased they've been that they got the help with grant aid, they got the furlough, so they didn't have to sack their staff. And indeed, we now have once again record levels of employment, and many employers are asking me, what can we do to get people into the workplace? We have people unemployed in the borough, but at the same time, we have job vacancies. So I think my New Year's message would be to people, upskill yourself. If you think you're in a low-paid job, then look at what skills you can get. If you're out of work, then look at what skills that you need to get. We know there's jobs in the food sector. We know there's jobs in hospitality. If you're a good driver, think about being a lorry driver. There's some good money there. So it's going to be a tough year. I think the Prime Minister's come through a choppy patch, and I'm looking forward to him putting that behind him and getting back on track to rebuild the economy after the pandemic. And the United Kingdom is in a much better position than many countries, certainly around Europe, but also around the world.
Yes, you refer to a choppy patch. Now, that's one way of putting it. There are some that would say that, restrictions haven't been more severe over Christmas and New Year because people might not take much notice of them, bearing in mind the allegations about what happened last year in Downing Street and the flouting of the rules that occurred there.
Well, I agree that what happened last year was not the sort of strictures that the rest of us were having to apply. I mean, there is an investigation, so I wouldn't want to preempt that. These were people who have been working together in the workplace already. But certainly, last Christmas was a very downbeat affair in the Goodwill household. We were busy working on the farm, as I've been today, actually, before I came in to do this interview. So, it has been a tough time. But the reason why we've been able to do more than they have in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland is one, because I think we have more confidence in the vaccination programme. And we've seen tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, millions of people getting their booster jabs. And with the Omicron virus being much more transmissible, one would normally have expected to have to bring in more restrictions. But because the vaccination program has been so successful, we are in a much better situation. And the majority of people in hospital, sadly, are people who have not taken up the vaccine. So, the evidence is clear. Go and take the vaccine. If you haven't had a vaccine yet, for whatever reason, don't listen to whatever rubbish you've read on the internet. The vaccine has been now, it's been into millions of people's arms in this country, hundreds of millions around the world. And the vaccine it is clear, the vaccine could well save your life, particularly if you're a pregnant woman. The message is very clear. Go and get vaccinated. My granddaughter was born in the pandemic, and when her mother was rung by the NHS to take up a jab while she was pregnant, they were quite surprised. Said, yes, when can I come? Because many pregnant women were reluctant to take the vaccination. And sadly, we've seen mothers dying in hospital because of the fact they hadn't protected themselves with the vaccine.
Let me just ask you this. A lot of people, I am asking you to sort of stare into your crystal ball a little bit, but a lot of people are thinking that once we get into the new year, as we are, that there is a strong possibility of, more restrictions that feel more like lockdown. Do you anticipate something like that?
I hope not. We can't rule out new variants coming along which are more severe and would cause more illness. We do have a current challenge with health service workers and indeed transport workers and others who are key workers having to isolate because they've got the disease, and we've reduced the time period for them to get back to work. But I don't foresee us bringing in any more strict strictures on people, any more lockdown measures, because we have got the vaccine into people's arms. And the message I'm getting loud and clear from constituents around the constituency is that, we've got vaccinated. We shouldn't have to lock down because of the small minority who, for whatever reason, haven't taken up the vaccination. So I think that we're in a much better situation. And with the obvious exception of a new strain coming along, I think we're starting to crack this disease and move forward. And life, to be pretty much back to. I mean, at the moment, it's not a great problem wearing a mask in a shop or a restaurant. We've got 2 or 3 nightclubs in the constituency where you have to show your COVID pass, not your vaccine pass, because there's the alternative of a lateral flow test. So, I think things are very much different to they were this time last year, when Christmas was a very much downbeat affair.
I didn't realise you were a frequenter of nightclubs, Robert, but there you are.
I tend to go to, in my younger days, I went to a lot of nightclubs in Scarborough, but I have to say, generally during the daytime, to talk to the owners of the nightclubs to hear the problems that they've got. And then they probably bore the brunt of the restrictions. Even when pubs were open, nightclubs were closed, and they've had a very tough time. And therefore, I think it's great that nightclubs can be open in England, at least. The Labour Party in Wales have taken a different view. In Scotland, the SNP have also taken a different view. But we are confident that the vaccination protection allows us to have, with people taking care, being sensible and taking tests, etc. We think New Year can be delivered safely and nightclubs can stay open.